Inflation is falling, Bitcoin is finally rising, and there are still tens of millions of dollars in funding flowing into the world of cryptocurrency. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Brendan, and we make videos like this one every single week, about twice a week. So there's a lot to talk about in today's episode. We're going to be doing a little bit of technical analysis and seeing exactly what's happening on the chart, because there is this really nice rising channel, as I'm sure all of you can see. And with Bitcoin having quite the large green candle right in the middle of this guy, it's raising a lot of eyebrows as to whether Bitcoin's going to ultimately break to the upside or break down to the downside and potentially see new lows. Now, I have a couple different articles that I want to talk about here. We have a new hack that just happened, unfortunately, to Curve Finance, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Let's first go ahead and talk about these inflation numbers and how this could impact Bitcoin. Now, if you don't remember, inflation came in at 9.1% in June, and this month we're actually seeing inflation go down to 8.5%, which is a lot smaller than expected. So inflation now for 2 months in a row has fallen from 9.1 to 8.7 and now down to 8.5, which is all a really good thing, because inflation was one of the big factors that was scaring people from investing into alternative currencies, as crazy as that may sound. Even when it comes to cryptocurrency, ironically, or maybe unironically, even precious metals and a lot of commodities were all falling. Pretty much the only thing that was rising was oil, and that was due to its own separate issues that are happening in the world. But when it comes to Bitcoin, Bitcoin has been steadily rising since maybe around middle of June. And so ever since June and all of July and now into August, as we're almost halfway through August, Bitcoin has continued to see higher swing highs and higher swing lows. Now, a couple of the big resistance areas that Bitcoin still needs to watch out for is the previous bottom from the Terra Luna / UST crash, and also the bottom of this previous consolidation range following that Terra Luna UST crash. And these are going to be some of the big areas that Bitcoin has to retest in the future if the bulls want to keep chugging. And the initial bottom is going to be around 25,500, and the consolidation bottom is going to be around $28,000 to $28,500. Now, this is all stuff that we have mentioned in Crypt Nation already. So if you want to get early access to all my technical analysis, as well as a lot more, check out the link in the description down below for Crypt Nation. It's a great place, and I'm happy to be an analyst over there. But when it comes to this, we really are in the middle of this channel. And we're not at resistance, and we're not at support, and we're just sitting along the heart line, which was previously support, and then it was resistance, and then it was a little bit of support, and then guess what? Turned into resistance, and then support. And so this is one of those zones where it almost feels like we are being gravitationally pulled towards this. When it's above it, it's using it as support, and when it's below it, it's using it as resistance. And so with where we're at right now, we're not really above it, but I guess we're technically above it, but we're really kind of sitting on this line as we have been for about a week now. And there has been a solid amount of chop where Bitcoin has been sitting in like a 6% range right here, a 5-6% range, where it has just been moving sideways for almost 2 weeks, actually about exactly 2 weeks on the day. So there has been this 6% range that Bitcoin is stuck in. And a lot of what this is, in my opinion, is part of the capitulation phase to get people bored and upset and frustrated. And this was part of the same situation that we saw back in 2018, for those of you who remember it. There was this very slow, gradual grind upwards, kind of like what we're seeing right now. There was this slow, gradual grind upwards. And there was just periods of weeks where we would just be chopping, and this is so small, but you guys can kind of get the picture. There was this period of weeks where we were just chopping sideways and chopping sideways. In fact, in this case, this was happening for months, not just weeks, months. So with where we're at right now, there are definitely some similarities. Not going to say that they're spot and like spitting images of one another, but there definitely are some similarities to look at. So with inflation coming in lower, this could have people wanting to get more risk averse with their money again. People were scared of what was going to happen So because of people being scared, they really didn't want to spend money. And there's a lot more that goes into it than that. But that's kind of the basics. Now on top of this, DEX protocol Injective raises $40 million from Jump Crypto. This just shows, and we'll continue to say this probably every single video, because I feel like every single video I make, there is more money flowing in the cryptocurrency. And last video on Friday, we talked about just how much money crypto has raised so far this year. Tens of billions of dollars to already surpass all of the funding that we've seen in 2021. And we are only 8 months into this year. But as we continue to talk about this, more money flows into crypto, $40 million into the DEX protocol, which stands for Decentralized Exchange. So it seems like people are still very, very confident throwing their money. Big money is still very confident throwing their money at Bitcoin. Or not necessarily just Bitcoin, but really all of blockchain tech at this point. And the blockchain payments platform Ansible, and I hope I'm pronouncing that, Ansible Labs, founded by Visa alums, raises another $7 million. It says the startup is building a bank grade-off ramp for Web3 transactions. And Web3 has been one of the shining lights, one of the shining stars that has stood out this year. It seems like people are very bullish and excited about what Web3 has to offer. And one of the cool things about Web3 is that it doesn't just encompass one singular thing. It's very, very broad in terms of what can be put into Web3. Kind of similar in nature to like what could be considered DeFi. But when it comes to something like a privacy token, what is considered a privacy token has a very specific set of criteria. But when it comes to Web3, it's not so as much the case. There is a general criteria, but there is not like a standard yet. There's not a gold industry standard. But this is still good. Obviously, Web3 is going to be a massive part of the future. I think most of us can agree on that. It's just a matter of time until we get there. But more money coming in, almost $50 million this week. And I'm sure that there was something that I missed. But unfortunately, DeFi protocol Curve Finance, pretty popular DeFi protocol, pretty popular project as well. But unfortunately, they got hacked and around $570,000 was stolen, according to CoinDesk. So, and this even says here, if we want to go, the source of the hack has been found and reverted according to the protocol. So whether this is still at risk, I'm sure we'll need a little bit of clarification. But, according to this, they were actually able to revert this. And so I might have even skimmed over that part when I was reading into this article, as well as a couple other ones. So if it was reverted, all the power to them. Really, really good news. However, I'm curious as to how they reverted it. Hopefully it's not like how Solend was proposing to revert the Solend hack or the Solend issues, where they just kind of like manipulate stuff and wipe people off the blockchain. I don't know. If you guys remember that fiasco that happened a couple of months ago, I really hope that Curve didn't pull those strings. I'm assuming that they didn't, because if they did, it would be all over the news that they were trying to be like centralized and manipulate and kind of change the game. At some point, you have to almost say that sometimes letting a hack go on, as wild as this may sound, sometimes letting a hack go on is better than showing that you are like a centralized dictatorship, which some projects have tried to do. They would say that they would rather get the money back from the hack and prove that they are extremely centralized and almost like a dictatorship than let the hack go. So to each their own. Doesn't look like Curve Finance is doing this. I'm kind of off on a little bit of a tangent here, but Curve Finance, great project. I really truly do hope that they got all of their funds back and reverted, and no one lost money at the end of the day. It seems like there is an increasingly greater amount of hacks and any kind of scams that are happening in the crypto space right now, especially since so many people have lost money since this bear market has started. So just a final message I want to give everyone is to be careful, especially with your crypto funds right now. Be careful where you're putting them. Be careful in the links that you're clicking on and the people that you're talking to. because there are a lot of scams happening. Make sure all of your crypto is in a safe place. Make sure your passwords are safe and your seed phrases and all of that is very, very safe. I hope everyone's staying safe out there. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the video here, but if you have any questions for me and you're part of Crypt Nation, shoot me a direct message on Mighty Networks, or if you're not a part, consider checking them out and dropping a comment at the bottom of this YouTube video. And I'm happy to answer your questions down there as well. But once again, thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you in next week's video.